presents a new upcoming class. Stay tuned. Sacred Bonds by Daryl Abdullah Kirk. Yes, Sacred Bonds, navigating the depths of Muslim matrimony and the family. You don't want to miss this one. Please stay tuned. Streaming on all major platforms right here on Sunnahfollowers.net.
In alhamdulillah, wassalam ala wa rasulullah. This is our class on marriage in Islam. This is taken from the book entitled The Sacred Bonds. And this book was written by one of my students named Daryl Abdullah Kirk. Please buy this book. You can purchase it on Amazon. The last time we met for this class, we talked about the rights of women, the rights of the wife. Who can tell me what are some of the rights of a wife in Islam? Who can tell me? What are some of the rights of a wife in Islam?
She has the rights for her own accommodations.
Okay, one of the rights that a woman has is the right to her own accommodation. What does that mean in plain simple? Plain simple English.
Oh, she has a right to her own house.
Exactly.
She has co-worker, co-wives or whatever.
Her own house. This is important because there are some deviant groups who call themselves Muslims. They will tell you that if you marry them, these men will tell you, if you marry them, you have to move into their mother's house and take care of their money. Their mother. They marry women and make women their slaves. Did you guys know that? That's real common in Pakistan. That's real common in India. That's real common in parts of Malaysia. The women become slaves to the men's mothers. You know, every woman has the right to have her own place to live, not to live in no other woman's house. Good job. What's another right that the wives have? Brother Tajri, mashallah, he said every wife has the right to her own money. Exactly. My money is mine. My husband cannot take my money away from me. My money is mine. I do what I want with it. He can't tell me what to do with it either. This is my money. This is my property. Good job. What's another right that a woman has as a wife?
She has a right to not be abused and harmed and slapped on.
Exactly. This is really important. There's a misconception out there that Muslim women are beaten and abused by their men. This is a lie, because every woman has the right to be treated with respect and dignity. A man cannot physically abuse you. Any man that physically abuses you or verbally abuses you, that opens the door to divorce. You can divorce him. In fact, if you have a husband that's beaten up on you, you can just get up and leave that house immediately without his knowledge and then seek a divorce. Exactly. So this is another right. The man has to treat you with kindness, treat you with dignity, treat you with respect. What's another right? Any other rights?
She also has the right to seek beneficial knowledge.
Exactly. That's not part of the wedding rights. That's a right for everybody. I want all Muslims, male and female, to understand that seeking knowledge of this religion is an obligation on all Muslims, male and female. That's not a marriage right, But I want you sisters to know that any brother, any sister that converts to Islam, once you declare La ilaha illallah, you are now obligated to learn your religion. But that's not a marriage right. What's another marriage right of the wife? Anyone else?
Dowry.
Okay.
Dowry.
Okay, she has a right to her dowry. That should have been really agreed upon before the marriage. Before you and your husband married, y'all should have taken care of the dowry. Okay? What's another right of the Muslim wife over her husband?
She has the right to divorce.
But that's the right for everybody. I'm talking about marriage rights, guys. Y'all naming
the right to be treated equally. Like if she has a co-wife and she has the right, if this is her life, she has the right to be treated equally.
Yes, if there you go. I want marriage rights. I don't want rights that Allah gives us in the Islam. I'm talking about marriage, guys. What right does a woman have over her husband? What is it that your husband's obligated to do? Number one, and y'all still didn't even mention number one. Well, number five, let's see, we down to five. You know, also, if you get married and your husband has other wives, he has to be equal in his time. But y'all still ain't hit the real marriage rights. What are the rights that your husband owe you? He owes me the right to my own home. What else? Y'all ain't even hit this. You women don't know your rights as a wife.
The right to be provided financially.
Okay, let's start. I don't think y'all paying attention because everybody in here is married. I know y'all rights as a wife. I want everybody to put everything down and listen to me. I want one person, because y'all didn't even hit the number one thing, or number two, or number three. Can somebody get on the mic and tell me what are the rights that your husband owes you? What rights do you have over your husband? Can somebody please tell me?
You have the housing, financial.
What do you mean by financial? I mean, come on.
He has to take care
Can
of
y'all
this.
talk? Y'all better talk. Y'all making me think that we crazy. Y'all got me thinking that the last star about to happen right now because y'all just don't get it. Can somebody just get on the mic and tell me in plain, simple English what my man got to do for me? What you got to do for me? Go ahead.
Provided for you.
Layla, I want you to get on the microphone, speak plain, simple English. What is it that your husband has to do for you?
He has to provide for me and protect me.
Why come y'all? Provide. That's number one. Number one, he has to provide. And what does that mean? Break it down. We got people that don't know what provide means.
He has to pay for my clothing. He has to pay for my shelter. He has to pay for everything to keep me up.
He has to take care of you. He has to maintain you. He has to feed you. He has to clothe you. He has to put you in a house, a nice place to live. He has to pay the bills for you. He's your provider. He's your maintainer. What else does he have to do? That's number one and two. What's number three? He has to provide. He has to maintain. What's the next? These are the three P's. What are the?
Protect me.
Thank you. He has to provide. He has to maintain, and he has to protect you. Your husband is your protector. Why come y'all ain't hitting this stuff? He has to protect you. It's his job to make sure that nobody's hurting you. It's his job to make sure that you're secure. Do you sisters get it? What man would move his wife into the projects? If my husband were to put me in the projects, is that protecting me? Is that protecting me? He has to have you in a nice environment, safe from harm. So he's the one that provides for me, meaning buys my food, my clothing, my shelter. He's the one that maintains me. He's the one that protects me. Those are the three. How could y'all skip all around that? Shows how we got the lines blurred, the women out working. The problem is women are out working. Y'all out being, the women have become the providers and maintainers. That's why y'all couldn't mention that first. Okay, so those are the three basic rights. The three basic rights. And then as we talked about, he has to treat you with kindness. He has to be kind to you. He has to be just with you. What does that mean? That means he can't put his hands on you in a hurtful way. He cannot put his tongue on you in a hurtful way, meaning he can't curse you out, call you names. He has to live with you in respect, as Brother Tajri said. He has to be your champion, and he has to live with you in respect. Treat you justly, fairly. And if he has other wives, show no difference. Show no difference publicly. The same way you treat them publicly, you got to treat me too with respect. You can't push me to the corner and treat me like I'm a backdoor woman, but you holding hands with that one. And he has to be just with his time. So those are the rights that women have over their husbands. These other things y'all was mentioning about divorce and education, that stuff ain't got nothing to do with marriage. Okay? I mean, that ain't the rights of a woman. I don't know how y'all got sidetracked. Okay, so those are the rights. Now, today what we're going to do is speak about the rights that men have over us. Because Islam is a check and balance. Allah doesn't give too much power to anyone. Okay? Just like our husbands are obligated to take care of us financially, to protect us physically and spiritually, we have rights over them too. And I'm getting ready to put the PowerPoint up. I got this over here. Let me put the PowerPoint up on the screen, and I want you guys to take notes. Just like these poor sisters don't know their rights, I guess you brothers don't know yours either. By the way, the women are a reflection of the men. Don't y'all know that? Just like the children are a reflection of their parents. Just as the children are a reflection of their parents, the wife is a reflection of her husband. As the prophet said, you want to know how good a man is. You want to know if a man is a good person. Look at his wives. Look at his children. Are they happy? The state of mind of his wife and his children will let you know if that man is a good person or not. Okay, so, let's look at the rights that men have. Let me put the PowerPoint up here. Yeah, I got it on here right there. Yeah, there it is. It's going to say, yeah, we didn't need that computer to act up today. And by the way, for those of you who have not yet purchased the book is called The Sacred Bonds. I encourage every Muslim listening to me to buy this book and read it before you even think to get married. Because as we can see, we don't know what our roles are as wives and husbands. We don't know the conditions of a valid marriage contract. We don't know anything. You have to learn about marriage before you engage in it. And maybe then we wouldn't have so many divorces. Okay, so tonight we're going to cover chapter 11 of the book, emphasizing the rights of the husband in marriage. And again, guys, all of these rights given to us are from Allah. Why? Because Allah knows his creation better than we know ourselves. And Allah tells us in the Quran, in the interpretation, the meaning, women have rights over their husband in regards to their living expenses, similar to those rights that their husbands have over them, regarding obedience and respect and what is what is reasonable. But men have a higher degree of responsibility over women. Let me explain what Allah means here. When Allah says that men have a higher responsibility, he tells us because Allah created men differently than women. Men are stronger than women emotionally, and men are stronger than women physically. Men can handle the stress of life better than women can. That's why the prophet said, never, and I want y'all to remember this hadith, never. He said, never vote for a woman. Never elect a woman to be a ruler over you. He said, any nation that appoints a woman as its ruler, that nation will fail because women are too emotional. We suffer with PMS, mood swings. Men don't suffer that way. They have a problem with their lust. They have a problem with their physical desires. But they can control their jealousy. They can control their anger. They can control their emotions, anxiety, and stress better than us. So that's what Allah means when he says that men have a degree on a higher standard. But because of that emotional prowess that the men have, that's why Allah made them the head of the household. And I want you women to not get it twisted. We're living in an era of LGBTQ. We're living in an era of feminism. Women want to be men. You ain't a man. I don't care how many sex change operations you have. You still cannot change the nature of yourself. Women cannot handle life the way men can. And women are not as strong as men. I don't care how many sex change operations you have. I don't care how much you go to the gym and pump up to look like Bono. You still can't take a man down. I don't care. I've seen it. I don't care if you're the baddest woman. You still cannot hold a man down. He's going to overpower you eventually and take you out. Because that's just the way Allah made men. They have that physical strength over us. So that's why Allah made them to be the head of the household, the leader, the ruler, the imam of the home. And here Allah is telling you what some of their rights are. In this verse, he is saying that they have the right to be obeyed as such. Since Allah made them the ruler, Allah made them the king of the home. You are the queen. He is the king. As the king, it's his job to protect you. It's his job to risk his life for you. So if he's going to put all that on the line, out on the line for you, if he's got to work 3 jobs to take care of you, that's his job. So in turn, you have to respect him for what he's doing for you. And also, listen at that verse. Obey him in what Allah commands you to obey him in. Does everybody understand that? And I'm going to talk about this obey him. Y'all just read that word, read what comes after it. Obey him as to what is reasonable. What does that mean? That means obey him in the things that Allah commanded you to obey your husband in. And we're going to break that down. So let's look at the right of obedience. Allah says in the interpretation of the meaning, men are the protectors and the maintainers of women. Here's the dalil of what I just said. Why? Because Allah has made one of them to excel the other, and because they support them from their money. Okay? The husband's right to obedience means that the wife should obey him in the things that Allah has commanded her to obey him in. What are those things? What are those things that Allah commanded me to obey him in? Well, be nice to him. Be nice to his family. Guard in his absence what he would have you guard. That means take care of his house. Take care of his children. Taking care of his house means cook his dinner, cook the food, clean the home. That doesn't mean that your husband cooks and clean. That means it's your job as a woman to cook. It's your job as a woman to clean. It's your job to make sure that the children are taken care of. It's your job to make sure that the bills are being paid. It's your job to make sure that all appointments, that all scheduled appointments for yourself, for the children, and for your husband are fulfilled. If your husband got a doctor's appointment, it's your job to be aware of it. If your children have appointments, it's your job to make sure that they get to them. If your husband needs to go to a doctor to be checked out, it's your job as a wife to make his appointment for him. If your children are sick and need to go to the doctor, it's your job to schedule it. You are the one that guards in your husband's absence what he would have you to guard. Y'all understand that? That's your job to run his house. Now do y'all see why women don't have to work in Islam? And now do y'all see why Islam discourages, I repeat, discourages women from working? Not because Allah is oppressive, but because Allah knows that taking care of the home, that's a 24-hour job. I got to be up on it. I got to know when my husband is sick. I got to make appointments for him. Got to make appointments for the kids. I got to make sure the kids get to their appointments. He gets to his. He remembers it. I got to take the kids to school. I got to make sure the bills are paid on time. I got to make sure that the gardener is here to mow the lawn. I got to make sure that the snow is being removed outside. This is a 24-hour job plus cook and clean. This is why Islam discourages women from working. It's not your job to work. That's his job. You want a nice house? That's for him to worry about. He can go and work 2-3 jobs and DoorDash too. That's his business. That's his job. Because a woman's job never ends. Okay? Also, another right that the husband has is you have to make yourself accessible to him physically. What does that mean? As I told you guys, we complement each other. Women, we're more emotional than men, but men are more lustful than us. Men are weaker than women sexually. A man can get turned on at the blink of an eye. So it's your job to protect him spiritually by making yourself accessible to him. If he comes home from work and say, I had a rough day, I need you to spend time with me. You have to drop what you doing, sisters, and go spend time with your husband. You tell the children, okay, I want y'all to go up in your rooms. I want y'all to play, and I've got to talk to your dad. You have to make yourself accessible to your husbands. And somebody's asking a question. Can a woman wear a sexy nightgowns for her husband? That's like asking me, can a woman get naked for her husband? Can a woman get naked for her husband, sisters?
Of course.
Of course. All right. You can do whatever you want with your husband. Okay. What is clothing? Wear whatever you want with your husband, or don't wear anything with him. Who cares? All right. So I want you, sister, to understand you have to make yourself accessible to him. If he needs you physically, you have to be available. Just like the prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was one day saw a woman. The woman was attractive. The prophet lowered his gaze. He went home to Zainab, and Zainab made herself accessible, because women are weak in regards to our emotions, like jealousy, anger. Well, men are even weaker than us when it comes to lust, desire. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, when a man calls his wife to bed and she refuses, if he were to go to sleep angry with her, the angels will curse her until the morning. There's also another hadith where the prophet said, if a woman doesn't respond to her husband, the angels and the El Hurin and all the creation in paradise will curse her. The El Hurin will say, "Oh Allah, kill her. Soon he will be with us." That hadith is authentic. It's in Sahih Muslim. Anytime you make your husbands angry in this world because you won't give him his physical time, his wives in paradise curse you. And they sing a song saying, soon he'll be with us. So I want you women to think about that. We're living in this day of fitan, where the Muslim women want to be like the Kafirs. You think it's a good thing to tell your husband to go sleep on the couch, to tell your husband that you got a headache, to tell your husband, I'm on my period and ain't nothing wrong with you. I got cramps. Ain't nothing wrong with you. Think about how every time you lie like that, how those angels and the El Hurin and the Buraka, all the angels, or everything in paradise is cursing you. And you want to know why our lives are so bad? We women have become so much like the Kafir women. It's pathetic. Okay. So that's another right that your husband has over you. Also, because of how weak our husbands are sexually. Oh yeah, they can get turned on easily. Throw a bag on her, flip her up. That's all they care about. That's just the nature of a man. I'm sorry. That's the truth. They can't control that. This is why, as Muslim women, we cannot do a voluntary fast unless our husbands approve of it if they're home with us. Because he could go to work. Maybe there's some crazy Kafir woman trying to flirt with him. He's trying to maintain his dignity. He's trying to maintain his deen. So he might want to come home on his lunch break and spend some time with you to be reminded that that woman is a denizen of shaitan. So this is why we cannot even do a voluntary fast unless our husband approves of it. Now, this does not mean Ramadan. For those of you sisters who have not completed your fast of Ramadan, you do not need your husband's permission, because there's no obedience to the creation over the creator. If you got to make up your days from Ramadan, you better get busy. They should have been made up, to be honest. But if you want to do a voluntary fast, I want to fast the day of Ashura. I want to fast the 10 days of Arafat, you know, or I just want to do a fast on Mondays. You have to ask your husband's permission. Okay? Also, another right, and this is a right that a lot of American Western women don't like, but that's life. You cannot allow anyone into your home unless your husband approves of them. Oh, this is very important. If your husband tells you that he doesn't want your mother coming over because he and your mother don't get along, guess what? You have to obey him. Because once a woman gets married, her husband becomes her guardian. Her husband becomes her ticket to paradise. The parent is no longer the ticket to paradise for the woman. Okay, the ticket to paradise for the married woman is her husband. The prophet said, any woman who dies and her husband was happy with her, she will reach paradise. That hadith is authentic. It's Sahih Muslim. Okay? So, no one can enter your husband's house unless he approves of it. If your husband tells you, Sister Layla, say I was married, and say I was married to a jealous man, you know it happens. And the man says, Layla, I'm so sick and tired of these young men coming here with your DoorDash orders. I don't want you DoorDashing no more, Layla. I don't want no men coming to my house when I'm not here. Then guess what? Layla got to stop DoorDashing. She got to stop Instacarting her Starbucks. I got to get up off my rocker and go out and get my own food. Buy my own, do my own shopping. If my husband say he doesn't want any dashers coming to my house. So no one can enter your home without his consent. And also, again, this one here, this is an exception. You cannot spend from his money without his consent. This is not really correct. This one here, guys, I meant to take this off. If you're married to a man who is stingy, say, for example, your husband, he is tight-wadded. He won't give you enough money to go grocery shopping. He only gives you $500 a month. Food is expensive. It costs $800 a month to buy groceries. You can take what you need without his consent. So this thing here in the book, guys, bypass this. Okay? You don't have to have your husband's consent, because a lot of men are stingy and tight-wadded. Okay? And where's my dalil? Well, after the conquest of Mecca, when the Quraysh converted to Islam, Hind, who was the wife of Abu Sufyan, she was so ashamed of how she abused the Prophet and abused the Muslims before Islam. So she covered her face and tried to disguise her voice when she gave her pledge of allegiance to the Prophet. And the Prophet told her, Hind, there's no reason for you to hide your face from me. He said, or change your voice. He said, don't you know, Hind, that you're Muslim now? And Islam, once you become Muslim, Allah forgives you of all the bad things you did before it. So she removed her veil from her and she said, "O Prophet of Allah, I have a question." She said, "Since you know who I am, Abu Sufyan." She said, "Abu Sufyan is stingy." She said, "He doesn't give me enough money for the children. He doesn't give me enough money for the food. She said, what can I do? The prophet said, take from his money what you need. She said, do I have to ask his permission? He said, no, because she said, if I ask his permission, he's going to refuse it because he's stingy. The prophet said, take what you need from his money. And you don't need his consent. So this condition that the brother put here is not correct. Okay? You don't need your husband's permission. If your husband's not giving you enough money to pay the bills, it's your job to pay the bills. It's your job to write the checks out. He's not giving you enough money to pay all the bills. Then you can write the check out to pay the bills based on what you need. Do you sisters understand? So this one here is not a condition. Not really. All right. So where's the evidence for all of this? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, fear Allah concerning women. Verily you have taken them on the security of Allah, and intercourse with them has been made lawful to you. In other words, the prophet was telling the men here, you can have relations with your wife whenever you want. And he says, you too have rights over them. And those rights are that they should not allow anyone to sit in your house whom you do not like. And if they do that, you can admonish them, but not severely. Their rights over you are that you provide them with food and clothing. And by the way, these verses were sent down after the Battle of Badr. Because after the Battle of Badr, that's when Allah sent down the verses of the Quran giving women the rights as wives. When the Arab women learned what their rights were, they became abusive towards their husbands. Some of the women stopped cooking. They stopped cleaning. Some of the women stopped having sex with their husbands. So Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, went to the prophet. He said, oh prophet, Allah has given women rights over us, that our wives are not listening to us. In fact, some of the women are beating up on their husbands. And that's when the prophet made this statement. What do you mean they're not having sex with you? You have rights over them. They have to have sex with you. And also they can't allow anyone in your house who you don't like. If they are doing that, then you can admonish them, because some of the women were allowing people, their neighbors, to come over. Oh yeah, the Arab women are live. Arab women ain't no pushover women. The Arab women started letting their neighbors come and hang out in their houses. The husband would come home and say, I don't like her. I don't want her over here. She said, I don't care. That's my friend. And Allah gave me rights. So that's when the prophet told them, if they got women in your house that you don't want there, you tell them to leave. And if they won't listen to you, then you can admonish them. Okay? Other hadiths. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said it's not permissible for a woman to fast when her husband is home unless she gets his permission, nor can she admit anyone into his house without his permission. Like I said, the Arab women was having a field day when those verses came down, giving them rights, because before Islam, women in the world didn't have rights at all. And also the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whoever and whatever she spends in charity of his wealth without his consent, the rest of that hadith is he will get a reward for it. So say, for example, you guys want to make a donation to this website. So you write a check out from your husband's checking account for the website. You didn't ask his permission. Guess what? Allah will not only reward you for the donation, but Allah will also reward him too, because the donation came from his money. So you brothers should be happy when your wives make donations to the mosque or to this website from your money, because Allah is rewarding you, even though you didn't think to do it. And not only can a Muslim woman not allow anyone in her husband's home that he doesn't approve of, but you can't leave to go anywhere either without his permission. What does that mean? If I plan on, say I was married and I had plans on going shopping, let your husband know. Let him know, honey, inshallah, today I would like to go grocery shopping. And I also would like to go visit my sister. And I was thinking about going to spend some time with Sister Latifa because I heard Latifa is sick. Let your husband know. Because again, he's responsible for you. He's supposed to be your protector. How can he protect you if he doesn't know that what you're doing and where you're going? So you sisters have to let your husband know, I plan on going grocery shopping. I plan on going to get my hair done. I want to go get my hair done today. I want to get my facial today. I want to get my nails done. Let him know, even if he doesn't live in the same city with you. Okay? Let him know this is what I plan on doing, because he's held accountable for what happens to you. And lastly, this is the part that people get twisted. Every husband has the right to discipline a bad wife before he divorces her, thinking that he can, in hopes of trying to get her together. But what a lot of people don't understand, what's a bad wife? A bad wife. A bad wife is not a woman who cooks turkey instead of steak for you. A bad wife is not a wife that fell asleep and didn't have a chance to clean the house up. A bad wife is a woman that violates and transgresses the laws of Allah, the rights of Allah. That's a bad wife. An example, she doesn't wear hijab, not overspending. Overspending is not a bad wife either. That's not a bad wife. A lot of people overspend. I overspend all the time. A bad wife is a woman that I want you women to write this down, and you men too. What is a bad wife in Islam? Allah defines a bad wife as a woman who violates or transgresses the limits of Allah. The limits of Allah. Spending money ain't got nothing to do with Allah. A bad wife is a woman that doesn't wear hijab. A bad wife is a woman who sneaks out the house and takes off her hijab. A bad wife is a woman that smokes cigarettes, drinks alcohol, sneaks and smokes weed. That's a bad wife. A bad wife is a woman that you cannot trust. When you go out of town, she's having parties. She's inviting her friends over to her house with music, dancing, party. Do y'all get it? It ain't got nothing to do with spending money. It ain't even got nothing to do with magic. It ain't got nothing to do with magic. It's about Allah. This is a woman that is no good. You need to divorce her because she has no fear of Allah. She's a skank. That's a bad wife. She's a skank. You cannot trust her. When you leave the house, she flirting with the neighbor. Y'all understand? She's a skank. She hanging out on the balcony with no hijab on. She's walking outside the house to get the newspaper, showing off her body. That's a woman who needs to be divorced. Y'all understand what a bad wife is? This is a woman who transgresses the limits of Allah. She can't be trusted. She's a skank. This is what they accused Aisha of. By the way, guys, these are the things that the Shiites lie on Aisha. Now do y'all see why we don't hang around with Shiites? Now do y'all see why Shiites are cursed? Now do y'all see why Shiites don't fall in the category of being a Muslim? Don't let that person in here. Because these are the things they accuse Aisha of. So, if a man is married to a woman that doesn't practice, she doesn't wear a hijab, or he's married to a woman who every time he goes to work, she sneaks outside the house and parties with her neighbors, or she's smoking weed, she drinking, she allowing people into his house that he don't want over there. What should he do? Well, when he finds out, the first thing he should do is tell her, talk to her. He come home and say, look, I found out that every time I go to work, you leave the house and you're not wearing a hijab. Or I found out that you smoking cigarettes. You smoking weed. Or I found out that you got people in my house. So I'm going to warn you. I'm going to tell you, if I hear that you're leaving the house without a hijab on again, or if I hear that you smoking cigarettes again, or if I smell cigarettes on you, or I smell marijuana on you, if I hear it happens again, it's going to be bad. So she sits there and listens. Soon as he leaves to go to work the next day, she does it again. She sneaks out the house. She says, I don't care about him. She leaves the house with no hijab on, or she's still smoking them cigarettes, or she's still partying, sneaking behind his back partying. So when he finds out the second time, what he's supposed to do is say, okay, since you don't want to listen to me, since you don't want to do what's right, I'm not going to sleep with you. I'll be sleeping in the spare room. Now, why did Allah put these steps in effect? Because Allah knows his creation. Allah knows that no woman likes to be ignored. No woman likes to be put on a back burner. So if she's a good woman, if there's any good in her heart, that's going to make her stop smoking. That's going to make her take the effort to wear hijab and to obey you. If there's any good in her heart, because no woman on this planet likes to be ignored. No woman on this planet likes to be tossed to the side and left alone. So you stop sleeping with her. But then you see that she's still not wearing hijab. She's still sneaking out the house when you ain't around. She still got people in your house without your knowledge and approval. That's when you can hit her. But if you hit her, it's not in a way to hurt her. It's in a way to shame her. You look at her and say, look, don't do that. If you do it again, I'm divorcing you. And that's also when you let her know that if she does it again, you're divorcing her. Does everybody understand? So you go to work and you find out the next day she still ain't wearing hijab. That's when Allah says you divorce her, because that's a bad woman. That's a bad woman. Do y'all understand? So this ain't got nothing to do with spending money. It ain't got nothing to do with cooking food. It ain't got nothing to do with her forgetting anything. It's about her being a skank. I want y'all to look up the definition of skank in the dictionary. She's a skank. She's a bad woman that really should be divorced. She's a woman that you can't trust no further than you can spit. She's a woman that'll have a man in your bed when you ain't looking. She's a woman that will degrade you and herself. Am I breaking this down to you, sisters? Am I breaking it down to you, brothers? She's a skank and has no fear of Allah. Listen to what Allah says in the interpretation of the meaning. Those women on whose part you see bad behavior. That's the word skank. Get a Webster's dictionary. I'm speaking in grassroots English. She's a skank. You see bad behavior. Admonish them first. Then refuse their bed. Then hit them lightly and let them go. Do y'all understand? This ain't a woman that needs attention either, Santisa. I don't want y'all to get it. I'm speaking in plain English. This is not a woman who wants attention. This is a woman that will have another man in your bed. This is a woman that is into herself. This is a woman who has no fear of Allah. Y'all understand? I'm speaking in plain English. This ain't no attention seeker. There's a lot of women that like attention. I like attention. I'll do things to get attention. I'll make my husband laugh to get his attention. I'll make my husband, I'll tickle him to get his attention. This is not an attention seeker. This is a woman that you can't trust because she's going to have a man in your bed. She's going to have a man in your house. I'm breaking this down to you women. Do y'all understand? And if you are one of those women, because there's a lot of them out there, there's a lot of women I know who are Muslim, and I see what they do when their husband ain't home. I see them put on the tight blue jeans. Oh, yeah. I got a few neighbors. I live in a Muslim community. They wear abayas. They wear khimars. I can tell when their husbands are here. And as soon as their husbands leave, they take off those abayas and they put on straight leg Gloria Vanderbilt jeans. And they put on little tops. And they put on turbans. And they leave the house. I can tell when their husband's home. And I can tell when their husbands are overseas. You are a skank. Y'all got it? That's what Allah means when he says bad behaved women. A woman that's vile. Allah says righteous women are for righteous men. Irrighteous women are for irrighteous men. And you never know. When you get married, guys, you don't know what you're getting. You may think a woman, because women are devious, you may think that because that sister covers her face, she'll come to the mosque with gloves on, she'll come to the mosque with a niqab on or burqa on. But she ain't nothing but a little skank. When you turn your back, she got that burqa off, she got that gloves off, and she dropping it like it's hot, even though it's not. Exactly. And we got a lot of those women. They put Nicki Minaj and Cardi B to shame. And they play with their voices too. How many of you know those sisters at the mosque? They come to the mosque pretending to be pious with those soft voices. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Assalamu alaikum. And all of that phony stuff. Then they go home, put the music on. It's my birthday. It's my birthday. It's my birthday. They on the patio. Hey, hey, hey. How many of y'all know women like that? Come on, we know them. They everywhere. They all in the mosques. Pretend to be the haram police. But when you turn your back, she's a skank. These are foul women. Y'all understand that? But out of the mercy of Allah, Allah is more merciful than he is a one who punishes. Look at the chances. Look at the chances Allah gives you as a skanky woman to get it together. He's telling your husband just can't kick you to the curb. He got to work with you. He got to sit down with you and try to help you come out of that skankiness by talking to you first. Then he got to come home and still continue to work with you to get you out of your skankiness by refusing the bed. And then if that don't help, he can tap your hand and say, baby, don't do that. See the mercy of Allah. With us women, a man has to go through those steps before he kick your vile behind to the curb. Y'all see that? I hope my neighbors are listening. I hope my neighbors are listening, because there's a lot of skanky women bros. You should see what your wives do when you ain't around, some of them. Oh, yeah. All right. I hope I broke that down. So, also, a lot of people talk about the verse of the Quran, this verse that I just went over, where Allah says you can admonish her lightly, strike her lightly. What did I teach you guys here? Whenever there's a verse of the Quran that we don't truly understand the meaning of, we should look to see not what the four Imams say, not what Ibn Taymiyyah said. Look to see what the original companions had to say about the meaning of that verse. So Ibn Abbas, this is the Meccasidic understanding of the Quran. Ibn Abbas explained to us what the part about hit her lightly means. He says it does not mean to cause her physical harm. It just means to tap her, to show your displeasure. Now, in the book here, Brother Abdullah put the opinion of other people. I didn't put it, because what do I teach y'all? I don't care what the second generation of Muslims said. I don't care what the third generation of Muslims says. I don't care what the four Imams said. When Ibn Abbas speaks, or any of the first generation of Muslims speaks, everybody else shut up. Because nobody understands this religion better than those original companions. So since Ibn Abbas, and also there's another hadith from Aisha, radiallahu anha, when Aisha explained the meaning of this verse to the Roman women, when they came asking, she said it means to embarrass her, to show him, not to hurt her. She said the Prophet Muhammad never laid a hand on any of his wives. He never laid a hand on any of the children or any of the slaves either. She said when Allah says strike them, that means to really show embarrassment to her, to make her feel bad. It doesn't mean to cause harm physically. So this is what we got from Aisha and Ibn Abbas and also Ibn Umar. So I don't care the other people that the brother put in the book. I didn't even put it on here because who cares what they got to say? Okay. The most correct opinion is what the companion said. Is this here from Ibn Abbas, not from those other people. So the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the best of you are those who are best to your wives. And as Aisha said, and Ibn Abbas and Ibn Umar and Anas and others, and Salama and Hafsa, the Prophet Muhammad never put his hands on his wife. Okay? On any wife. But then again, the Prophet Muhammad wasn't married to a skank either. None of the Prophet Muhammad's wives were skanks. All of his wives were righteous women. They were not irrighteous women. So let's summarize the rights of a wife to her husband, because this is all the rights. Number one, your husband has the right to be obeyed. Does that mean obeyed in everything he says? No, because we don't obey anyone other than Allah that way. But we obey him in everything Allah commanded us to obey him in. And we obey him in everything that is, feasible, not what's unfeasible. Also, your husband has the right for you to make yourself physically accessible to him. Also, your husband has the right to tell you who can and cannot enter his house. Okay? And also, your husband, being the protector over you, he has the right to know where you're going and what you're doing, what you plan to do. Okay? So these are the rights given to the man by Allah. And as you can see, these rights go hand in hand with the rights that Allah has given us Muslim women. All right. So now let's see how well you guys understood this. Here's your quiz. Here's your quiz. Get ready, Miss Jackson, Pamela, Heidi, everybody. Yeah. Okay, wait a minute. Hold on. Here's question number one. Hold on for a second. Let me fix my little screen. I want to make myself bigger. Okay, I'll make myself more bigger for you guys, accessible. There you go. All right. The question. Your husband decides that he no longer wants you to use electricity because electricity is expensive. He wants us to go back to using lanterns because using lanterns for light will help to save money. Are you obligated to obey him and no longer use electricity? And explain why or why not. Who would like to answer? And give a complete answer. Sister Heidi, a woman does not have to cover her face. You don't have to cover your face nor your hands. That's not a part of Islam either. You don't have to cover your face and your hands. I mean, I don't mean it's not a part of Islam. What I meant is not an obligation for the woman. I'm sorry. That's not an obligation for women. That's culture. That's not religion. Just like Arabic is a language, not a religion. Culture. There's some cultural things that the Turkish people did or the Persian women did. Just to let y'all know, it was never the culture of Arabic women to cover their face. Arabic women wore what y'all see me wear, hoods or their hijab like this. I want y'all to take a screenshot. This is the way Aisha, radiallahu anha, she did not cover her face. None of the Arabic women did. That's not part of their culture. The Turkish women covered their faces. This is if the Aisha or any of the Arab women didn't want to be known who they were, they would do this. They'd wear their khimar to the front like this, where you could not see their eyes. Y'all see this? You can't tell who I am because my eyes are covered. Okay? If all of us women walked out the house like this, you wouldn't know who we were. They wore hoods to the front. Okay? This is the Arabic dress. Google it. You see it in the movies. Y'all watch the Haji Baba movies? This is Arabic. Okay? Or they would do this. If Aisha was outside and she was, or any of the Muslim women were outside and they were walking past a group of men and they didn't want the men to know who they were to abduct them, they would do this. Like y'all see me do sometimes. Y'all see sometimes when a brother comes in here and gets on the mic, I'll take the mic and do this. Okay? And then I'll take it down or I'll do this. Or take it down. But my thing is, if y'all saw me outside, if I wanted to be inconspicuous, this is what you'd see me. I imitate Aisha and them. I'd be like this. I love my hoods. Y'all see me wearing my hoods in the wintertime? That's why I wear them. I bring them hoods down. I'm a Sunnahfollower. Hello! I ain't no Turkish woman. I'm Arabiya, original Copt, not Turkish. All right. So a woman doesn't have to cover her face or her hands. And you know, Arabs live in the desert. Can you see anybody in the desert walking around with gloves on? Come on, get real. I don't know where the glove stuff come from. I really don't. All right, that's probably from England. English people, maybe. Vikings, I don't know. It ain't Arabic. All right. So, who's going to answer this question? Your husband decides he no longer wants you to use electricity because he wants to save on money. So he's going to disconnect all the lights and stuff, and we're going to start using lanterns. Are you obligated to obey him? Who would like to answer this question? Let's hear it, please. I don't have all night. Get on it.
No, I'm not obligated to obey him in that fact. He's taking me out of my comfort. That's a form of oppression for me when this is current day and we use electricity. I gotta cook. I gotta do laundry. I gotta, take care of myself. So no, I'm not gonna obey him in that. He could be in the dark by himself.
Okay.
Also, like, that just don't make sense, and it's very, and like she said, we're not in back day. Why do I have to use a lantern? Allah already said, and they women have rights over their heart and regarding living expense. So why are you, putting me in a situation that that lantern? It's like, no, if you have to get 5 jobs to use electricity, you better go get 5 jobs. But this, Allah already said it. That's one of my rights, to live in a place where I have electricity, a place where I'm comfortable in my own home. So why are we using lanterns? So
okay, that's good. That's good. Now, can you guys think of a verse of the Quran that we went over today that also wraps it up with a kiss? Miss Jackson, you right on it. Miss Jackson's on it. Miss Jackson's got it. What did Allah say in that verse of the Quran? And your rights over them is that they obey you in what? What's the rest of that verse? What's the rest of the verse that of the Quran that talks about the rights your husband have over you in obedience? Finish the verse. I emphasized it about 15 times in the lecture.
What's obeying in what Allah has commanded for you?
No, but that's my way of breaking it down. What does the verse say?
The verse said, and they women have rights over their husband as regards living expense similar to those of their husband over them as regards obedience and respect to what is reasonable. But
that's the part. What is reasonable? What is reasonable? You obey him in regards to what is reasonable. Y'all get that? That's the Quran. That's the Quran, and the Arabic word translates well, as Dr. Dramali would tell you. You obey him in regards to that which is reasonable. Is it reasonable for a man to tell his family that he doesn't want them using electricity? Is that reasonable? No, that's not reasonable. If your husband comes home and tells you he doesn't want you to wash the dishes with a dishwasher anymore, he wants you, what was the question we had in that Q&A? Your husband tells you that he doesn't want you to use a dishwasher anymore. He wants you to wash dishes by hand. Is that reasonable? Is that reasonable, people? Y'all ain't listening. This is why y'all can't answer none of my questions. Good job, Muslima. No, it's not reasonable. That's not reasonable. Who got time to stay in the kitchen all day washing dishes when I got a dishwasher? The Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, what did Aisha say about him? Where's my dalil? Where's my dalil that it's not reasonable? The Prophet Muhammad, the Aisha said, whenever the Prophet Muhammad was given the choice between two things, what did he do? Who can remember the hadith?
He always chose the easiest of the matter.
Exactly. The Prophet Muhammad chose the easiest way. If the Prophet Muhammad was living today, do y'all think he'd be washing dishes with his hands? Come on. This is a man of dawah. He ain't got that time for that. He'd be using that dishwasher. The easiest of ways. Does everybody understand that? So that's the part of that verse I want you women to remember. We obey them in that which is reasonable. So if my husband came home and said, Sister Layla, I want you to jump out the window, do I obey him in that? Do I jump out the window?
No, heck no. No.
Why not?
Because that's committing suicide.
And because it's suicide, it's not what? What are we supposed to obey them in?
Only what Allah commanded us.
No. What y'all still, boy.
Reasonable.
Exactly. What's wrong with y'all? Y'all slow. Reasonable. I want y'all to become acquainted with that word. That's English. That ain't Arabic. That which is reasonable. I want everybody, family, get a dictionary. Go to dictionary.com. What does the English word reasonable mean? I'm trying to break y'all.
No.
Look up the meaning.
Reasonable is
What does
relative.
I want you to
Relative. You know what I mean, Sister Layla? What if he can't afford
no, hold it. I want Fame to go to dictionary.com and tell me what the American people who invented this language, English, said reasonable mean. I don't want to hear somebody's twisted opinion.
It says being in accordance with reasons, no extreme or excessive.
There you go. Write that down. Reasonable means not being excessive, not being harmful, not being ridiculous, within reason. Something that you can, that's unimaginable. For me to stop using electricity, that's unimaginable. That's not reasonable. For me to sit up and wash dishes all day, you know, when I got 5 kids and all these dirty dishes, when I can throw them dishes in the dishwasher and do my classes, it's not reasonable. For me to wash my clothes by hand, it's not reasonable when I got a washing machine right here. Do y'all understand? That's the word. I want y'all to write that English word down. That's why I say forget Arabic. You ain't no Arab. You ain't got to speak no Arabic. Y'all better learn how to master the English language, especially Americans. You Americans have not spoken English in centuries. I know it because I got a college degree in it. I went to school and got a degree in English. My mother made me do that, to be a daya. Okay, I hated that, but it's paying off now. So you obey your husband in that which is reasonable. What about this? My husband tells me, Layla, why are you spending $500? I mean, no. Why, if my husband says, Layla, you're buying name brand clothing, this shirt that you bought our son, you paid $100 for this shirt when I can get the same shirt for just $25. I don't want you spending $100 on no designer shirt no more. Do I obey him in that?
Yes. Yep.
Why is it that I can obey him in that?
Because it's reasonable.
Exactly, because it's reasonable. What about this? My husband tells me, Sister Layla, I don't want you wearing hijab anymore because of the political situation in Gaza. You might get killed. So I want you to take off your hijab and stop wearing hijab. Do I obey him in that?
No.
Why not?
Because that is a command from Allah.
It's not reasonable.
Why is it not reasonable?
Because it's not because she's not supposed to obey him.
Okay, that's one reason. Also, when we talk about within reason, you're going to look around. What can I say? Come on, why is it not in reason? Not just because Allah said don't do it, but what else? What else?
Because the earth is spacious, and if whatever is danger you in, then you can move yourself away from there.
Okay, anybody else? Why is it not reasonable if my husband said, Layla, stop covering up? Why is it? Because you can get reason. Reason. My husband says, I don't want you wearing hijab anymore because of the war in Gaza, and you may get killed or you may be hurt. Why is that not reasonable? You guys got to think. You're knocking. Why is it not reasonable, Pamela? Okay, it's not reasonable because death can come at any time. I can move to the moon and still die. is that reasonable? There's Muslim women that's wearing hijab every day. Are they dying? If Allah's decreed for me to die because I got a hijab on, is that going to change it? There's a lot of ways to answer that Islamically, to come back with a dude Islamically with that. Your husband come home and tell you that nonsense. You say, dude, I ain't in control of my life or death. There's millions of women here in America that are wearing hijab. What difference is it going to make if I take mine off? I'm still Muslim. If somebody want to kill me because I'm Muslim, they're going to kill me whether I got it on or not. That's how you can refute that. You guys are going to have to start thinking. This is why you sisters don't know when to say no to your husbands. Because y'all don't understand what reason is. Okay? Okay, let's look at this question. What about this? Your husband wants you to lose weight. So he tells you you can never have sugar or rice. He doesn't want you eating bread. He doesn't want you eating rice. He doesn't want you eating candy. Do you obey your husband in that? Is this hard for you sisters to answer?
No, I ain't got to obey him.
I want you to tell me why.
Because opposite to me. If I want a piece of candy.
Why? No. Answer it Islamically.
Okay, if I want a piece of candy.
Is this reasonable? Your answer is going to be.
It's not reasonable.
Okay, why? Then you're going to tell me why it's not reasonable. This is a new Shahada asking this question. Why is it not reasonable?
It's not reasonable due to the fact that I'm not going against anything against the law. It's permissible. It's not haram. It's halal. And I'm human. If I choose to have a piece of candy.
Okay, that's enough right there. First of all, this is not reasonable because your husband does not have the authority, Sister Jackson. Your husband does not have the authority to make anything haram that Allah made lawful. You can cut sugar out your diet completely and still be fat. You know how many people are fat and don't eat sugar because they diabetic? Again, is this reasonable? No. Who are you? Do you know that Chinese people eat more rice than anything and look how skinny they are? It's in the genes. So no, I don't have to obey my husband in that. That's not reasonable. Who are you to try to make it haram for me? Allah said rice is good and clean. The Prophet Muhammad likes sugar. Sugar is good and clean. Candy is good and clean too. So no, you can't tell me what to eat. So again, sisters, you obey your husband in what is reasonable. That's not reasonable. Your husband wants you to lose weight. Tell him to go work out with you. It ain't about eating. You can not eat at all and still be fat. Most people are obese because they don't eat enough. Did y'all know that? So again, he ain't no doctor. Who is he? A lot of people are obese because of stress. You need to go see a doctor. A doctor can help you to lose weight. Do what's reasonable. The reasonable thing is to go see a doctor. It's not to sit there and let your husband play doctor on you. Does everybody understand that? You obey your husband and that which is reasonable. He ain't no doctor. You want me to lose weight? Okay, let me make a doctor's appointment. I'll go to a doctor. But you're not in a position, brother, to tell me what I can and can't eat. Because you cannot make haram what Allah made lawful for me, brother. That's just like telling me you don't want me to breathe because you think that there's food in the air. I don't have to listen to you on that. Okay? So that's the problem that we have. A lot of you sisters don't understand obedience and what is reasonable, because we're not used to using that type of terminology. Reason. We're not even used to using our reasoning, our logic skills. Okay? All right. Let's see. Do I have another question here? Yeah, I think here's another question. What about this? Your husband does not like your father because your father is gay. And he says he does not want your father in his house. Must you obey your husband in this? Why or why not?
Yes, because you have to protect and honor your husband's property. And
Yes. Is this reasonable?
yes,
Yes, this is reasonable. Your father's gay. What does the law say about gayness? That's a terrible thing. As Muslims, we're supposed to practice wala wal bara. We're supposed to distance ourselves from that which contradicts Islam, even if it be our family members. This is reasonable. I love my father, but my father's gay. You can't come here. You can't come here. You know, because, you know, I got children. I don't want my children to think that being gay is okay. I don't want my children to get no ideas. I have to obey my husband in this. You guys understand? Okay. And what about this? It's the last one. You tell your wife you want chicken for dinner, but instead she cooks fish. Can you admonish her physically because she cooked fish? Is this reason for a man to hit a wife because she cooked fish instead of chicken?
no, it's not reasonable.
Is this a question
You're
of
not
reason?
supposed, huh?
Look at the question. Is this,
You can't.
it's not about reason. The question is, can you hit her because she cooked chicken instead of fish instead of chicken?
No, because she cooked for you. She made your dinner for you. You can't just hit her. She's not a bad. It doesn't define nothing that Allah says as far
That's
as
what I'm looking for. The only type of woman that a man can put his hand on is if she's a bad wife. A bad wife is a woman that cannot be trusted. This is a woman that has no fear of Allah. She has transgressed the laws of Allah. You cannot put your hands on a woman who is a good woman, but because she made a mistake or she forgot or she used her better judgment call. Do you guys understand that? The only type of woman that a man can put his hand on is a skank. This ain't no skanky wife. She ain't sneaking out the house when you ain't there. She wears a hijab. She's at home. She's cooking. She's cleaning. She's doing what Allah commands her to do. That's not the type of woman. She doesn't fall in that category of putting your hands on her in a bad way. Does everybody understand that? Okay, so those are the rights that the men have over us. But again, you sisters are going to have to work on it. Y'all are going to have to work on using your brains to understand the difference between what's reasonable in regards to obedience and what isn't. We obey our husbands and that which is reasonable. We do not have to obey them and stuff that's just ridiculous and ludicrous. Here I got a washing machine and a dryer in my house. You're going to tell me that you don't want me to use my washing machine? You don't want me to use my dryer? You want me to take the clothes and wash them by hand? Brother, I ain't got time for that. That's not reasonable. So we don't obey him in that. Do y'all understand that?